All right, we are live. Oh, wait, it says an error occurred. Wait a moment, then try and go live again. Okay, go live.
Technical difficulties usually happen.
You are live. Okay.
Awesome.
I know I'm learning all about this StreamYard. So thank you so much, Brett, for joining me today. I'm not even going to try and give your bio. It's so lengthy. I'd love for you to introduce yourself to my audience,
Sure.
so we can get them a little bit excited about what we have planned next month.
Awesome. Awesome. So thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited about the Heal, Transform, Transcend retreat on the 23rd. And I'm just a guy from Queens. Grew up with my mother, Arlene. She raised me and my brother, John. And went to school at St. Francis Prep in Queens. Then went to SUNY Albany. And I got my first job in Manhattan outside of college, transferred me to California. And when I got out there, I started getting into like meditation and things like that. And then quickly got on the path of emotional healing.
Hmm.
So my journey started out there. The first major stop was in Sedona, Arizona in 1999. And from age 15 to 27, I had issues overreacting, most often in my relationships with women around anger and jealousy. And I was 27 and I just had enough of having this jealousy thing screw up my relationships. So, what do guys try and do? We try and fix it. So, I was trying to fix it, but I got lucky enough to come across an amazing healer in Sedona, Arizona. And within the first 5 minutes of talking to this guy, the cellular memories came up from my parents' divorce when I was 6, which was all the emotional tension and trauma that was fueling my overreactions and really my fear of abandonment that was underneath the jealousy. So that session really healed me within an hour and a half of jealousy. So ever since that day, I knew I wanted to do this work.
Hmm.
So I've been following the work, listening to the energy, absorbing it, and sharing it the best I can. So since 1999, I've focused on helping a lot of people with deep emotional trauma from childhood to help them get over and get past those blocks that they're having to unconditional self-love today. And just giving people a happier experience of life when we release that baggage. So Stress is Gone is really my platform to do that, to create the Stress is Gone mobile app, to write books, to create these techniques that help first responders, veterans, and everyday people like you and me let go of stress and anxiety. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yes, I know, and you have a lot of training. So I just would love to touch a little bit upon your psychology training and then how you went into further education, because I know a lot of people are probably like, how do you do this? How do you learn how to heal others with, such trauma?
Yeah. So the first thing is you need a very willing guinea pig, which was myself. And so even when I was a young kid, even like in elementary school age, I remember pulling up the stool to the bathroom mirror and literally looking through the reflection in my eyes in the mirror, just wondering what is behind my eyes, like what is beyond what we're seeing in this human form. And I just felt like there was such a vastness behind my eyes, almost like a whole universe. So I was always intrigued. Then I had my first psychology class in college, in high school, with Mr. St. John. He was also my homeroom teacher. He was awesome. So he really got me more like structured in like my pursuit of psychology. Then I went to SUNY Albany and got a psychology degree, and I loved learning about psychology. I always wanted to be like a forensic psychologist. And I decided when I got out of college from getting my bachelor's, I had enough of school for a while, got into sales, and then that company shipped me out to California. And I took on a management job there. And that's where I got into all this other stuff, right? Started my first major training was in meditation, transcendental meditation. That really opened up my mind so much and started to get me in tune with my body. Then I sought out that healer from Sedona, Arizona, followed him around for a few years, did a number of like week-long retreats with him, dozens of sessions with him. My goal was to heal my heart to the point where it was at when I was born. I wanted to let go of all the scarring, all the tension, all the pain, to just be myself. right? So that was my goal. And then I also, along the way, learned from Cam Ewan, which is a 35th generation Shaolin Grandmaster. He taught me how to sync the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious mind to facilitate healing. And that was a level 1 and level 2 training I took with him back in 2000 and 2001. And there was just a slew of other healers and teachers that I came across that I kind of like took little tidbits from and brought into my own technique. But really, the Stress Is Gone method came about from spending hours upon days in meditation to kind of like pull in the idea and clarify it and hone it. So whenever I create a new technique, I'm in meditation for hours, like clarifying what the next step is and just bringing it from there to there to there. So I'm really, my goal with Stress Is Gone is to bring through the techniques that are deep inside my soul, like those gifts we all want to uncover and unwrap and share. And that's really what Stress Is Gone is. And I'll be able to share some of those techniques, later on in our life. But I'm trying to think. The other major training I had was at the Himalayan Institute, the meditation teacher training. That was about a week. And at that point in my life, I was already teaching meditation for about 7 years. I was teaching in hospitals, corporations, but I actually had no formal training. So when I saw it advertised, I jumped on it. And it was such an awesome experience, just being at the Himalayan Institute and meditating and learning how to facilitate classes in a more clear way, to help people more, to have more, enriched meditations. It was just really, that was phenomenal. That was great.
Yeah.
And after that, I was really just focused on doing the work. So I would go to places that were in trauma, either like after a community disaster, like after Hurricane Sandy, I was in Rockaway for a year. Immediately after the shootings in Sandy Hook, I was there working with a few families. And after the tornadoes in Tennessee, what was it, a few months back, we sent out all our tools to every person that was in a shelter. And a few years ago, we sent all of our PTSD workbooks to every homeless veteran in a New Jersey shelter. So we just really about sharing the tools and the techniques to where I feel they're most needed, and right now with stress and anxiety, it's at an all-time high, we all could use them, but I do try to help the folks that really, need it the most.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about your nonprofit that you have. I know, and just how it all started, how it came about, and why it means so much to you.
Yeah, so the nonprofit, it's kind of a miracle how it came about. So I was volunteering at this nonprofit in Hempstead, New York called Strong. And it's really for the youth in Hempstead. And Hempstead in Long Island is riddled with gangs, right? So it's really, really tough to be a young person out there. A lot of crime, a lot of devastation, and it's just very tough. So I was out there for about close to 2 years working with high school age kids, middle school age kids, volunteering. And then one of the program directors hooked me up with this group in Hofstra, a group of lawyers that actually does all the paperwork for nonprofits, for people that want to make a nonprofit that they believe in. So I made my application. They were like, all right, we love this idea. We want to help you out. And they did all the paperwork in like 3 weeks. It was like,
And
fell out of
it's
the sky.
usually a very long process.
Yeah, it like fell out of the sky. It was totally, I was just in amazement how it was. And that was in 2014. And my yearning to work with veterans, inner city kids, first responders, healthcare workers, it really started when I started hearing some of the scandals that were around the veterans' healthcare, their ability to receive healthcare, and like people were dying on lines waiting for surgery. And I thought at least if I could create something that could fill in a little bit of the gap just from like the emotional stress point, while they're waiting. And if they could just learn how to release the stress from their body, just to clear their mind and calm down their emotions, I thought that would be such a great win, So that's really what I did with the nonprofit, and wrote the 3 keys to managing PTSD, the Warrior's Guide to Overcoming Combat Trauma. And the 3 keys come with the PTSD free mobile app. It's really a 3-tier system that helps veterans where they're at. And my kind of inspiration to write the workbook was my dad. So he was a Vietnam Marine veteran, New York City firefighter with Ladder 30 and Rescue 3. And he always had a lot of stress. The way he dealt with stress was through drinking, hanging out with his friends, telling jokes, things like that. He had a ton of stress before he went to the Vietnam War, right, within his family. I mean, a ton of stress. And when he came back and my mother and him got married, by the time I was 6, my mother had divorced him because he was just too much into the partying lifestyle. It wasn't healthy for our family, right? So he was out of my life for about 3 years, I want to say. And then a little bit here and there from like 9 to 15. And then later on in life as an adult, we really connected. So the last 10 years he was alive, we started talking more and more. And then maybe like a year or two before he passed, he went to the VA and he said he got diagnosed with PTSD. And then I said, Dad, I would love to do a session with you, and he jokingly said, do you really want to pop the lid off this top? Right. And I said, yeah, I do. He always felt like his demons were bigger than him. And I said, yeah, I do. And he said, okay, we'll do it. So we set up a time for like 2 days later. This was on a Tuesday night. And then that next day, he had a severe, eventually life-ending bleeding stroke in the center of his brain. He passed away 9 days later. So we never got a chance to do the coaching session. So then after bawling like a little baby for 6 months, right? Like waking up with such deep soul, heart trauma and pain. Like I was waking, before I even woke up, I was crying. Like in my dream, I was crying. Then I was waking up and I was crying. That was like happening routinely. So I'm like, all right, let me be my guinea pig, right? This is a really great time for me to be my guinea pig. So one of the best healing tools and mantras for losing a loved one and kind of like repatterning the pain and becoming at peace with it came from that loss. And really writing the book, I wanted to create something that anyone could use. I'm a veteran from the Korean War era, Vietnam era, Iraq, Afghanistan, all different eras, whether you're phone savvy, tech savvy or not. Because I did create other tools that were like, my first tool was like an app. But he couldn't use it because he had such big hands. He was also a construction worker, so his hands were huge. It was like a gorilla trying to play with. So he couldn't do it. So the workbook was really my dedication to him, and that's what it is. He has 3 pictures on the dedication page. I wrote like a poem about him, and whenever I'm doing like a veterans event and I have like a case of the books with me, I feel like he's literally sitting right beside me. I know he is. And I feel really connected to him this day. And I do want to share that little mantra that I use to help me process that pain of losing him. I started doing this at night, which was, I put one hand on my heart and one hand on my belly button. I close my eyes, I start breathing deep and slow. And then once per breath, I say, I'm okay here. And then on the next breath, I say, he's okay over there. And after like a month of doing that for like 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes before you go to sleep, it starts to reestablish the new relationship, because we were used to having the physical relationship with our physical senses. Now, after letting go of all the pain that I had around my relationship with him, because he wasn't no longer here, my heart could open up again to become kind of clairsentient, to feel his energy again. And then also my mind was able to clear again. So I actually felt a deep connection with him from wherever he was over there. And I'm over here. I'm okay here. He's okay over there. And we're able to connect more. So I do that work with folks after losing a loved one. And the idea is our loved ones are in a very expanded place. And we live in this dense world. And anxiety, pain, sadness, it's all very tight and tense. So in order to reconnect with them, we have to loosen up and let go of all that tension so we can open up and reconnect with their energy and the feeling of being connected with them again. Now, are we going to be able to see and touch and feel them? With our physical senses, no. But with the spiritual senses and the clairsentient feeling of an open heart, we can definitely, absolutely reconnect with them and feel that love. And at the end of the day, that is what the connection was about, the love that we shared between one another. So that's just, I know I went on like a little,
No.
rant about, the love, but I feel like everyone experienced so much loss throughout the pandemic, and it's important to talk about,
Yeah.
to wrap our heads around, and to open up our heart to. And it is like one of the most toughest pains to love. But the only option we got is to let it anchor us down and like just be tight and in pain, or to love it and let the pain release. And you're not letting go of your loved one. That's another thing. A lot of people identify with the pain. They identify their loved one with the pain.
Yeah.
We're not letting go of the loved one. We're just letting go of all the pain so we can love them again. So that's been, since the pandemic started, like a lot of the work that I've been involved with, not only with first responders and veterans and healthcare workers, but just everyday people that have lost family members. And, it's so painful. So I really dive in at that level of healing. And there's nothing more reconnecting for me than to facilitate the energy and to witness somebody reconnect with themselves and let go of that pain.
Yes, yes. I'm super excited for our retreat that I'll be
Yeah.
hosting at my house that you're going to help come and facilitate. Can you just let everyone who's listening know a little bit about what they can expect? So,
Mhm.
during the, hour and a half to 2 hour healing circle that you're going to be leading, what can one expect?
Great question. So I start out with a 3-minute, introduction of who I am, what I've done, and what's going to happen, right? And then I ask the group one by one, what brought you here? And basically, that can go in two directions. What do you want to let go of? Or what do you want to bring into your life? Right? So some people feel like they might be blocked from a loving relationship for the last 15 years. So that's like there's something in the way. Some people might feel like they've been through a lot of loss and they just want to let go of the pain. So
Yeah.
people that come to me are either on a quest to let go of some pain, or they want something really bad that they want to attract into their life. So once I understand what the group wants and why they're there, then I open up my mind and I call in the guidance of kind of like it's the group's oversoul or our higher selves. I don't know how into your audience is into these kind of phrases, but that's what it is. It's like the energy of the highest part of the group, the collective of the group. So I open up and start listening to that. And I'm guided to say phrases. I say the phrase. So I'm intuitively connecting with the group, the oversoul of the group. I hear the phrase, I say the phrase, and the group repeats the phrase one at a time, right? One phrase at a time. We all say it together. When we start doing that, the tension that's lodged in the cellular memories, just like in that first session that I had when I was healed of jealousy and like those memories came up when I was 6 years old for my parents' divorce, that was the core pattern of my problem. The cellular memories open up from our body, from our organs, our bones, our muscles, the tissue. Um, it opens up and starts to release the old pain. And you start to feel layers of tension leave your heart, your spine, your neck, your brain, your back, your abdomen. Those are usually the core areas, and also the hips. And typically, what happens during the program, like during the healing circle, is we go through layers of that call and response, the intuitive phrases. People start feeling that cathartic release coming out of their body. If someone's going through a major release, then I'll focus on them and I'll do some like a 2 minute to 3 minute laser coaching session where we'll go deep and release it from the roots. That sometimes involves some inner child work. And then sometimes, if we have time, I'll involve some music and movement, and it just depends on the demographic. Sometimes it's like R&B, oldies. It just depends on the group that I'm with. And usually we end up with a meditation to kind of like anchor in the new sense of openness and unconditional self-love in the space where all the tension was. So we kind of like find out where the tension is, it opens up and releases, and then we call in what we want to go into that space. And usually when people leave, they feel lighter, they definitely feel clear mentally, and they feel balanced emotionally. Often they'll have like a new excitement to be re-engaged in life. Yeah, I would say that's typically what people feel afterwards.
That's amazing. So tell me a little bit about how you got this wonderful accolade. How did your program get certified by the American Institute of Stress? It's kind of a
Oh,
big deal.
that was a lot of hard work. So the technique is the core methodology is called stress stopper breath work. It's a simple 3-step process that activates our body's relaxation response, and it shuts down the fight or flight, which is behind all of our stress and anxiety, right? So that technique I came up with over about 8 years. So it was like gradual in how it came out. And it got better and better because I would continually meditate on it to try and crystallize and hone it to its like purest form. And when it got to its purest form, that's when I went for the certification. And I had to compile a ton of scientific data that validated each step, that each step on its own was scientifically valid and was true in that it releases stress and anxiety and tension from the body. So after doing that research and submitting it, it was a pretty long process, but then it got approved and it was certified. And when it was first certified, it was anything that technique was in was certified. So the apps, the other tools. And since then, I've also gotten certified by the American Academy of Experts in Traumatic Stress. And that was also a huge submission, not of scientific data, but of my background. Like every class I ever taught, every place I ever went into to teach, all the corporations, all the homeless shelters, the military bases, like everything. So it was like a culmination of that along with testimonials and feedback. And that was that process, which was also another really long process. And then finally, the last thing that happened, which I was super excited about, was over the summer, I got accredited by 2 accrediting bodies to certify students in the Stress is Gone method. So that, like, yeah, that was, yeah, I'm super excited about that.
So that's the next evolution.
Yeah. Yeah. So the next evolution is taking the Stress is Gone masterclass, which is live now. Once somebody goes through that, they can then go for an upgrade and get certified in a 3-month certification process where you learn how to do all the tools and use them on other people to help other people let go, whether that's your family members or maybe you're a guidance counselor or a social worker, and you want to learn some of these tools that you could help your clients with.
I love it. I love it. And you're going to be bringing some of your workbooks
Yes.
on the 23rd. So I'm just so thankful that you were here. I mean, that was so good, so succinct, so on point. I'm really excited to work with you.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the 23rd.
I just had an event this weekend. It was wonderful. And I already have guests who are excited to come back. So I know that this is going to be a really, really great turnout. So if anyone is interested, just check it on the post, click on the link, secure your spots. This is going to be a smaller group because we want to make sure that we can get to some of the deeper healing. So space is limited. So if you are interested, make sure you secure your ticket. And Brett, where can everybody find you online, follow you at your website and all of that?
Yeah. So stressisgone.com is the best place to reach me. If you want some free tools and like you're having a tough time like right now, just go to stressisgone.com/resources and you'll see stress stopper breath work, the anxiety freedom technique, the traumatic memory release, and the transform negative thoughts technique, all right there at your fingertips. And if you're having a super tough time and you want some coaching, just hit the coaching tab and you could get an individual session or a 30-day program. And it's extremely transformative. The coaching goes right down to the root and the source of the stress, right? So we get down to that core traumatic memory that's fueling all the stress and anxiety. And once we repattern the energy in the memory, your stress goes from like a 10 to a 2 or a 1. because it's like melting down the iceberg from the inside out. And then the iceberg we see over the waterline just kind of sinks into the waterline and melts and dissipates. So that's my approach, is really getting to the root, unwinding it with unconditional love and breath work. And the most beautiful thing is you reconnect with your own unconditional self-love from inside your body. And once you feel it, there's nothing realer than that. No one can take it away from you. No one can give it to you besides yourself. So you become like this thing that most of us are running outside of ourselves for relief. You become the house for the relief, so I love that part of the work, immensely. And then Tara, I just had a little question for you, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Can you just go through the day of the retreat on the 23rd so everyone watching knows exactly what the day is in store for them?
Yes. So we always start when we have guests arrive around 10 a.m. Then we just allow people to introduce themselves. We usually connect around the fire, talk a little bit about who we are, where we come from, and really what's bringing us there today. Then we go into a movement series. So we'll go into like a mindful meditation and yoga. Then from there, we're going to have lunch. And I decided to switch it up a little bit. I'm learning a lot through the retreats that I've been doing, what flow works for certain groups. So then we're going to break for lunch, do some inner reflection and journaling. And then we're going to head into your session. So your session will be in the afternoon, early afternoon, and then which will be inside the yurt. And then from there, we will go into some more light breath work and a guided meditation that will bring us into the sound alchemy journey. Then I also add in some Reiki and intuitive touch. So that's basically something that I got certified in. It's some hands-on healing. And then from there, we leave the yurt. We have a little bit of time to reflect on what we just came through, talk and share in a circle. And then we end up back at the fire and we do a fire, an intentional fire closing ceremony. And sometimes we bring out all the instruments. Last weekend we did. We had out our drums and our rain sticks and our gongs and our rattles. And sometimes it leads to singing. And then we pretty much close out the day from that space.
That sounds awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah. It's really cool. And, these are light flows in the sense, like we know you're going to be, running your healing circle, but I also just see what the group needs. And if the group needs a break and the group needs a snack and, they need to chat, then we just go with what we feel. So it's kind of intuitively led, but it's a loose, nice programming framework.
Awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yes. Thank you so much. So if you are interested in joining us at the Heal, Transform, and Transcend retreat on Sunday, October 23rd, scoop up those tickets. And Brett, this was so good. I couldn't figure out how to multi-stream to Instagram. We must do another one on Instagram soon.
Yeah, we'd love to. It was great. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And tell everyone where they can follow you on Instagram.
Just IG at Stress Is Gone.
Okay.
Yeah, Stress Is Gone. Yeah. And a really big one is the private Facebook group, Stress Is Gone. Join that. I teach in there once a week. I'm teaching there tonight at 6 p.m. Tonight's topic is mastering the tools. So if any of the tools that I discussed today intrigued you, we're gonna go through one by one, give you all the pointers to master them. We're gonna actually go through them, and then also how to nurture happiness. So that's the topic for tonight, mastering the tools and nurturing happiness. So we'd love to see you there in the private Stress Is Gone Facebook group.
Okay, great. I will make sure to link that.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Brett, and I will see you soon. Stick around, guys. We're probably going to do another live this week over on Instagram.
Awesome.
Hi, Brett. Thanks so much.
Have a great day. Bye.